Timberborn is one of the most unique games ever made, and while it has beautiful graphics and amazing gameplay mechanics, and might be the best city builder ever, it is not a perfect game, and there are several issues that you must know about before you buy it. But in case you have never seen Timberborn before, it is a city building and management game set in a post-apocalyptic world where the humans have vanished, leaving behind a barren landscape, and beavers have taken over as the main civilization, and you control these creatures, and you must then build and manage a thriving beaver society with the ultimate goal of creating a sustainable and prosperous settlement by managing resources, constructing buildings, and ensuring the well-being of your beavers. The world of Timberborn is vibrant and dynamic, with a quite unique twist on the typical post-apocalyptic setting. Instead of a desolate wasteland, the game will have lush forests, rivers, and even fertile lands that you must then manage carefully. The nature of the game is all about balancing resource extraction, but also sustainability. You must deal with very fluctuating water levels, managing crops, and preparing for seasonal changes. One of the coolest aspects is the use of vertical building and water management. You must build dams and canals to control the water flow, creating intricate systems that are crucial for survival. This focus on water management as a really strategic layer to the gameplay, as you must think about how to best utilize the landscape and resources. Now, in terms of the main gameplay, it is all about city building and management, and a typical gameplay might look something like this. So you start with establishing your settlement near a water source like a river. You then begin by gathering basic resources. This could be logs and berries. The logs are very essential for building structures, like lodges for the beavers to live in, and lumber mills to produce wood. The berries will provide initial food source. As your settlement then grows, you can construct more specialized buildings. This could be a water pump to supply drinking water, and even farms to grow crops like carrots and potatoes. In order to expand your settlement, you must then carefully manage the landscape. For example, you might build a dam across the river to create a reservoir, which will ensure a more stable water supply during dry seasons. Now, when you first start the game, you will have the most basic mechanics, gathering logs and building simple structures. However, as you progress, you will unlock more advanced tools and even technologies. This will include more efficient water management systems, advanced agriculture, and even power generation through water wheels and wind turbines. You can also research new technologies. This could be metalworking to build more complex machinery and even structures. One of the most important mechanics is the water management. We'll get way further into that later on. Now, as you can probably imagine, the game has a ton of replayability due to the mechanics, but also the very dynamic environment, but also the different challenges that come naturally from random events. This could be droughts or even changing of seasons. The game even includes multiple factions of beavers, each with very unique traits and abilities. For instance, one faction might excel in wood processing, while another faction is better at farming. So there's a ton of experimentation and trying different strategies for a settlement. So we've covered the early game and the mid game so far, in terms of starting with basic mechanics and then slowly progressing and unlocking more advanced buildings. But in terms of the end game, you will see a big shift towards optimizing the settlement's efficiency, but also resilience. You will start taking on more advanced projects. This could be large-scale power generation, automated production lines, and even constructions of high-tech buildings. The challenges in the endgame will also become more complex. This could be dealing with longer and more severe droughts, or maximizing the use of very limited space. This endgame will require careful planning and strategic management. The maps in Timberborn will also vary in size and layout, depending on the chosen scenario or randomly generated world. And while the game is not strictly open world, most of the maps are quite large and detailed, so there's plenty to explore and develop. And this exploration is also essential for finding new resources. You could uncover new lands for farming, finding rare materials, or even locating natural features. Now, let's talk about one of the most unique features of any game I've ever seen, and that is the water management system. So unlike many other city building games, where water is simply a resource to be collected or just something scenic, in Timberborn, you are required to actually manage water flow to ensure the survival and prosperity of your beavers. And it is the most integral game mechanic and has a big impact on how you build and expand your settlement. So it works like this. You can manipulate the flow of water using various structures such as dams or canals. You can also create reservoirs for storing water during droughts, but you must control the water levels. You must prevent flooding but also droughts, and ensure that your settlement has a consistent supply of water. You must consider the terrain and the natural flow of water when planning your settlement, as improper water management can lead to disasters like flooding or crop failure. For example, if you build a dam in the wrong place, it could cause a massive overflow into residential areas or even dry up farms downstream. But what makes this feature truly stand out is how it interacts with the other aspects of the game. This could be the agriculture, but also power generation. For instance, the water level in your rivers can affect the operation of water wheels, which is crucial for your power generation. Additionally, maintaining proper irrigation for crops during dry seasons is vital for your food production. Now, you might think with all these mechanics in the water management system that the game is insanely hard. That is actually not the case. And that brings me to my next point, the game difficulty. In Timberborn, Timberborn strikes a pretty good balance between accessible to new players, but also challenging for the more experienced player. So while it's generally quite friendly to newcomers, with a good tutorial that will introduce the basic mechanics and controls, but the game doesn't hold your hand extensively, and a lot of your learning must be through experience and trial and error, and that is essential for understanding the deeper mechanics of the game, mainly water management but also resource allocation. So for a new player, the initial stages are pretty straightforward, with very simple tasks like gathering resources and building basic structures. However, as the game progresses, you'll face way more complex challenges. This could be dealing with droughts and optimizing your settlement. For an example, a new player might build a dam without fully understanding the full impact of it, leading to unintended flooding or water shortages. Now, if you're a more experienced city builder, you'll also find plenty of depth and challenge. While the newer player or more casual could choose an easier setting, the more hardcore player could opt for the harder modes that introduce harsher environmental conditions and more demanding resource management. The game even includes various game modes. This could be standard, but also sandbox and even custom challenges. So of course in sandbox mode, you have complete freedom to experiment without the pressure of survival. And it's honestly a great tool for the more casual player that just want to experiment without facing the full consequences. Now, as you can tell by this video, this game is beautiful. And that brings me to my next point: the graphics, the sound, and atmosphere. So the graphics are quite charming and are very colorful, with a very distinctive art style that really brings the world of beavers to life. The visuals are also detailed, yet stylized, with a focus on natural environments, but also the beavers' intricate constructions. And this graphic design made it quite easy to distinguish between different elements. This could be buildings, resources, and terrain, which helps a lot in terms of planning and management, as a lot of city builders' graphics can become extremely overcrowded, making it very difficult to see what is what. Another great feature is the sound design that further complements the visual experience. It has very relaxing and ambient sounds that really suits the peaceful yet industrious atmosphere. Background music is soothing and fits the theme of nature and building, providing a good calm and backdrop to the gameplay. So the overall atmosphere is one of calm but also creativity, mixed with the occasional horrifying flooding or even droughts. But the combination of warm visuals, gentle music, and the ambient sounds create an inviting world that you can truly get lost in, where the atmosphere will support your focus on building and sustainability, making it truly engaging but also immersive experience. That being said, the game is not perfect, and there are several pros and cons we must cover. The first pro has to be the very unique concept and setting. This game is so different from typical city building games, with a focus on post-human world where the beavers have taken over. The game's unique setting but also the characters make it a true standout, providing a very fresh experience if you're a fan of simulation games. The next pro is the water management system. It offers a great layer of strategy to the gameplay, where you must carefully plan and control water flow to ensure your settlement's survival, which makes for a great challenge that truly set the game apart. The next pro is the charming art style and atmosphere. This game is so colorful and detailed, combined with soothing music and sound effects that really create a relaxing but also immersive experience. And the final pro is the great variety of game modes. The sheer variety of game modes really makes the game cater to both the casual but also hardcore player, as there's so much to explore and experiment with different strategies. And if you ever get bored of a game mode, you can always try something else. And now for the cons. The first con is the learning curve. Now, while the game is generally quite player friendly, the systems are quite complex. And then you also add the lack of handholding, which will make it a challenge for new players, as you must understand and manage water flow and even resource allocation. And while the game isn't generally hard, it is more complex than most other city building games, so you must be prepared for a decent amount of try and error, but it is also really rewarding once you learn it. But honestly, Timberborn is a great game, and if you appreciate city building games with a charming presentation and engaging gameplay mechanics, this game is great, as it truly offers a really refreshing twist that stands out from typical simulation games. The water management system is a particularly strong feature. Furthermore, the vibrant graphics and the soothing music create a really welcoming and immersive atmosphere. However, there are several drawbacks. The somewhat steep learning curve and the big necessity of trial and error might be quite daunting for new players, especially if you're not familiar with other city building games. However, if you want to try a truly unique city building game, beautiful, charming art style, and amazing gameplay mechanics, then Timberborn is a must play and is absolutely worth your time and money, and I could not recommend the game enough. For more amazing games, click here.